This is
Up
Up for Grabs, a podcast where three unfiltered friends talk about anything and everything. And now, here are your hosts, Tracy, Kim, and Rachel.
Welcome to Up for Grabs. I'm Rachel. I'm here with my friends Tracy.
Hello.
And Kim.
Hello.
Thank you again for joining us. It's our second episode. We discussed friendship last time, and it was well received, Tracy. I was very excited to hear the stats about that.
Thank you. Yes, we had, as of right now, 107 downloads.
Does that mean they actually listened, or did they just mistakenly hit download?
I'm going to say they actually listened because I don't know the correct answer. So I assume they listened twice is what that means. And then in 4 countries and 42 cities.
So we're international.
We are international. We are a runaway hit, I think is what that means.
A runaway hit?
I don't know. I just said it.
What place in, I feel as though there was a fun place in France. Do you know the name of the city?
I don't know the names of any cities in France. So no.
Well,
would you like me to look?
No, but I'll just throw it out there. Anyone that's listening to this that's in France, please feel free to send us an email.
Bonjour.
No, stop. That's all you know. French fries. Is it upforgrabspodcast@gmail.com?
Correct.
Please do. All of our international friends, so far we have 4. If you would like to send us an email and just let us know a little bit more about you, we'd love to hear from you.
Also, feel free to rate us on the podcast.
You can do that?
Give us 4 or 5 stars. I don't know specifically how that works, but we want to hear feedback.
We do. Do we? Well, what if it's bad?
I don't.
Wait a minute.
I would like positive feedback only.
Positive feedback only. But
today on Up for Grabs, someone said, "What's up for grabs today?" And it's our eternal souls. So we went. As we
nice
said,
transition.
As we said, anything and everything is on the table. So we're just going to go for the ultimate, our eternal soul for what's up for grabs.
It seems like the obvious next step.
It really does. Mm-hmm. From friendship to being dead. So this was based off of Kim's recommendation that we all watch a Netflix documentary. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what we watched?
So we watched the documentary, or actually a docuseries called Surviving Death. And it's fairly new to Netflix. And this docuseries on Netflix explores the afterlife. The title, Surviving Death, it's kind of misleading when you look at the episodes. There are 6 different episodes, and they explore near-death experience, mediums, signs from the dead, if you see people when you are close to death, and reincarnation. So anyways, I've seen my fair share of shows and documentary that focus on these topics. I'm kind of fascinated with the whole idea. But I felt like this one in particular was better done than others that I'd watched before. They didn't just make it hokey and put a bunch of, I don't know, foo-foo knowledge out there that,
Did you think that the one part that I liked about it was that they really seemed to try to focus on the science behind it?
Yes.
And really talk to people that were doctors and other learned people that really were about science, but really trying to figure out how we can prove any of these
theories
documented. I was impressed with the
that's
went
exactly
back, to the 1800s, and people had documented these kind of things, and they had a commonality to them. So I did appreciate that they tried to make it as scientific as this subject could possibly be.
Yeah, and the thing is that as human beings, we can't escape death. We're all going to die. And it honestly, when it comes down to it, what you believe in, who you believe in, if you believe we go somewhere after death, if you believe we just, as my dad say, take a dirt nap and you're just gone, you're just done. It's fascinating. And I think as human beings, we all wonder, or we all have interest in wondering the search for meaning. The search, if there is an afterlife, if you are going to see your loved ones,
Well-
if you do get a peek of heaven or, some eternal state.
One thing that I thought of, especially in these particular times that we're living in, that I feel have been pretty divisive, I'm like, this is one thing we can all agree on. We are all going to die. And then we can all disagree on exactly what happens when we die. But the greatest thing is no one's really going to know until it happens to them. So
No one for sure has the right answer here.
even though people think they do,
Correct.
just look at Facebook. They'll tell you what happens.
Every time.
What was the first segment that you were interested in talking about, Kim?
The first segment was near-death experiences. And who doesn't that interest? I love hearing people's stories. I loved all the research that they did behind this episode and the thousands and thousands of stories that people shared that kind of all had a common theme.
Yes. One of the things that I also liked is that the first person they spoke to in this particular episode of Surviving Death was a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
The one that she was kayaking and went over a really steep waterfall.
Yes.
And it sounded so horrible, but she made it seem like she knew she was going over. And then the next thing she knew, she was awake and back to life. But the in-between time, there was no pain. There was no...
She had recall from that state she was in.
Yes.
And it was a big amount of time.
It was like 15 minutes or something. Like
15 or
no,
20
30.
minutes. I think it was more
Now
like
you're
30.
just making it up. but
She was dead for a day.
She was submerged, trapped under her kayak, under brush and trees. It's an unbelievable story when you hear her tell it.
But the thing that I thought was comforting from her story was like, she's like, I knew I was going over and I thought, well, this isn't going to be good. And then when the impact hit, it wasn't like she felt it. It's almost like she went someplace else when it all kind of went down. Like she talked about, like the common theme was like vivid colors or
A feeling of peace and comfort.
Yeah.
That was the biggest thing that I took away from this episode, was that everyone they spoke to, or the majority of the research that they did behind it, wasn't that, I don't know, it was the comfort that they felt. They felt a safeness.
it wasn't the terror and fear that you would
Yes.
think it would be when you were looking over the waterfall.
Correct.
So that made me feel a little bit better.
It's reassuring.
Do you think they were lying?
Probably. No, I don't know. I hope not.
Have either of you seen Pixar's Soul?
Not yet. I want to.
Okay, have you seen Soul?
My girls have.
So I watched it. It's pretty deep, but it's surprisingly along these lines. Like, I don't know if I think the Pixar people watched this docuseries before they made the cartoon, but it's a serious cartoon. Like it has a lot of the same like themes and how people, because the whole point of the soul thing is that he has a near-death experience.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know that. Now
I
I'm
did
going to
not.
go watch
Oh,
it
me
tonight.
too.
And then he goes to the place where all the light, the people's souls are lights. And he's like, I'm not ready to go. And he wants to come back, kind of like in a state of limbo.
Okay.
And it was all, these fields and everyone was happy and it was.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys know this about me. I'm anti cartoon type animated shows. I don't enjoy them.
Wow. I did
Maybe
not.
one or two, but I don't know what it is. I just can't get behind. I like real life movies.
Okay.
But this is speaking to me.
It was deep. I was watching. I'm like, I was watching it with Lily, and I'm like, well, God, I'm not even sure if I'm totally getting the whole meeting. I'm like, they went over my head. That's what they did.
Well, when you said that you think the Pixar people watched the Netflix because it was similar, that's going to take me into telling you about the near-death experience that I did not experience personally, but kind of. And the reason I'm making the connection is after I found this out, I Googled something years later, and other people that are not related, there's so many shared experiences or similarities in experiences that I think lends credibility to them, if that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah. So my son, when he was 10, had a brain bleed and was in not completely comatose state, but in and out for a couple of weeks. And during that time, he would see people. He would wake up and say that there were people there that weren't there. And I would reassure him that no one was there. And he was descriptive of the people that he saw. And I took notes throughout every time a doctor came in, every time anything. So I documented it just because he was saying it, because it felt like I was being useful. So I would just write everything down. And a lot of it I didn't go back and read until a year or two later. But there was one time where he woke up and said that he had gone down a long pathway, and I said, well, what did you see there? You know, and he was raised Catholic. He's 10. So there's no way he would have had access to any information like this at that time. You know, the internet was a thing, but not like it is now where everything is searchable.
That wasn't what he was Googling.
No, he wasn't Googling that. Anyway, he said that he saw the parts room. And he said it very matter of fact, like I should know what the parts room was. So I said, well, what's the parts room? And he said, you know, when people are here on earth have parts that don't work, so like people that can't walk or can't see, they go to the parts room and they get the good parts. So they just exchange it. So the people that couldn't see can see, and the people that couldn't walk can walk.
I love that.
And he said it so matter-of-factly, like he saw it, like he was looking at it when he was talking to me. So I wrote all that down and didn't think much of it. And then when I came back to the notes a year or two later, and I really kind of forgot, we were kind of busy in rehab and doing different things. So I came back and I was looking at the notes, and I Googled heaven, parts room, whatever. And just a couple of stories came up, but other people with near-death experiences said that they had seen a parts room.
Oh, my.
And that's nothing that any faith that I'm aware of speaks to. So maybe there's a parts room. So if you can't walk or run here, nothing says you're not going to with whatever comes next. And I found that reassuring.
I love that.
Yeah.
And when you first said parts room, I don't know why I thought of like an auto parts store. I'm
That's
like,
exactly
are they
where I
gonna
was
fix my
going to.
car in heaven? What are they doing?
Maybe if you don't have a car here, you get one there.
Okay,
I don't know.
Good.
So I don't know. It was nice. Nothing scary. So that was good.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take whatever I can get.
Me too.
And speaking of taking whatever you can get, when we go to the medium, the next episode of Surviving Death, there was a man. And I wish I would have written down his name, but I was too angry to write it down. Okay, so there's this man in the docuseries whose father has passed away. I get that. That's traumatizing. Let's, miss dad, whatever. Well, he wants to be connected to dad. Well, he's not connected just once or twice. I swear he must have had 5 or 6 readings.
He was on a continual quest. He wasn't satisfied.
He wasn't satisfied. Nothing was good enough. Like,
was he not satisfied, or do you think that it kind of like was a high for him? Like it was so reassuring that he just wanted to hear it again.
I think both. Yeah, I do think he was addicted to the feeling he was having, and rightly so. His father passed, and I'm not downplaying his grieving process, but it was very interesting to see at what depths he would go.
I just want to know how much money he was spending.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
it was a lot, because sometimes those readings are expensive, and I sometimes get mad at the people that make a lot of money off of people that are desperate to connect with people that have passed.
He deserved it, whatever he was charged, because he got a message that seemed to be pretty clear. Like he went so far as to say, if this medium that's coming to my house is real, Dad, like talking to Dad, have her say something about my hair. Well, his hair, he had a receding hairline, but anyway, I didn't know what he wanted his dad to say about his receding hairline, but so he got really specific.
Right.
And the lady did on the way out. She was like, oh wait, he wants me to say something about your hair. Now, that would have just shut the door for me. That would have been like, okay.
He's with me. He's
There
in
he
another
is.
place. Exactly.
No, he went on to like 3 other people.
He did.
He might have had some unfinished business, and he didn't know how to finish it.
Well, he made me mad.
Well, stop it.
I
Do you want to
good.
beat him up? Like, I don't know what you
Well,
want
I
to do
guess
here.
my point was like some people would have searched for that kind of connection
Right.
forever, and he got it like 5 times and he still wasn't satisfied. I'm like, what a jerk. I'm like, stop it.
He lost his dad and you're beating him
Okay,
up.
fine. I lost my dad too, but I didn't
No,
be a hog about
connection
the connection.
to the afterlife.
I don't think you were being mean at all. I mean, they focused on, several different stories, and his definitely was, a little overboard.
Well, I drew the line when I figured out, because I knew this had to be expensive, right? And he's like, yeah, I'm a bartender at a theater on Broadway. I'm like, you get paid like $6 an hour. How in the hell are you affording the seance?
Oh, yeah.
that
He was the one that kept having the butterflies show up everywhere, right?
Yeah, they were in the theater. It was your dad, okay? Just take it and go. So yeah, that was my rant about the man that had too many signs that he just wouldn't take for being his dad. Were there any other points of that episode that anyone would like to chit chat about?
So the mediums episode was a part 1 and a part 2.
Okay.
The part 1 was pretty interesting. It just kind of goes over, different mediums and there's seminars, there's classes, how you can get in touch with your inner self, all this stuff. And then the second one, it just kind of went seances.
Is that the one who talked in the little
Yes.
boy's voice? Yeah, that was
Tommy, the Mickey Mouse.
Watch the episode and you'll understand.
It's super creepy.
Cringe-worthy.
And- Yes. And it
And
took
if
away
you-
from any credibility to anything anyone else was saying.
All I can say is if 3 of us would have been in that room,
we
in
would
the
have been
dark,
kicked out.
We would have been
singing.
kicked out.
Yeah.
and then she comes back as Tommy, the little boy that did sound like Mickey Mouse.
Yes, he did.
I would
Yeah.
have been kicked out of the seance for sure.
The lady was she was creepy. She was, I didn't think a reliable source.
Why?
I think it just,
Is it the whole
I
thing?
didn't
'Cause
trust her.
I didn't trust her at all.
Well, here's the thing for me. I guess when they were talking about mediums, I always just think about, like John Edward, like people that
Teresa
see-
Caputo or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Long Island medium, like that kind of medium. Well, I guess I didn't realize that in the business there's physical mediumship, and that's what she was talking about. The seances are supposed to physically bring this person through
Manifest
her.
the person through her. Right.
And then I had a question.
What?
So she was talking about, like her process for the seance and how they put her in some weird dark box
Yes.
and then strap her in.
To prove that she doesn't move things, or I don't know. It was all.
And she
it was too
needed
much.
and then when she was done with the seance, she walked out like she, like something had escaped her, and
But
she
it
was
did.
lethargic and
But I think but here's my thing. Why is it that I can totally believe the other mediums, but when it came to her, I was like, that's so fake. I'm like, I
I
don't
think that's just judging people, and don't you do that with people every day? Like
no, I don't judge people.
Okay. Okay, me either then.
Okay.
No, but you know what I mean? Like someone can tell you a totally ridiculous story, but you're like, okay, I could see that. And then someone else can say it and it comes off totally different.
I
It's
guess.
just a vibe from people, I think.
Well,
it was her vibe. It really was.
Yeah.
was it the fact that she was Dutch
Or she was a
something?
big fat liar. I don't know.
Or she was a liar?
Are we just going to alienate our Dutch
Our Dutch
listeners?
community? I love you, Dutch.
Something about
Sprechen.
her, the sketch vibes with me. I was just like,
Well,
Yeah.
sketchy.
did anyone else kind of think it was gross when they kept talking about the ectoplasm?
That's ridiculous. That's from Ghostbusters, right?
No. They said that when she's in that box and we can't see her, like, I don't know if she throws up. I don't know what's happening.
No,
They're like,
no.
it's an
That's dumb.
actual...
I don't-
Some type
must
of
have fast
liquid
forwarded.
coming out. I literally thought Ghostbusters when I was like, what is?
Yes.
I think I even I had to Google it. I'm like, what are they talking about? Yeah, it just
So now?
I want to
No.
believe. So when they say dumb crap, I didn't use a bad word.
Beep.
So when they say things like that, it makes me mad because it takes away from my ability to believe.
Okay.
yeah.
Because we're coming from an area that we want to believe. Can we
Right.
say that? I
Oh,
mean,
I
are,
think
are
we
we in
all
agreement?
three.
Yes. And by the way, if you don't want to, you're just no fun because What's the
Okay,
downside?
no, that's not true either. Some people just
Am I
believe
alienating
differently.
more people?
You're alienating more people because we are coming from a place where we are all Christian Catholics,
Okay.
and not everyone believes in an afterlife. Like, I learned something several months ago that I never knew.
I can't wait.
I know. When RBG passed away, and people, not everyone, but lots of people were upset and mourning her loss. And there was some backlash from the Jewish community for people saying RIP because that is not their beliefs. We were forcing our belief on them. And they said what would be more appropriate is to say, and I don't know if I'm going to get this right, but may her memory be a blessing. Something like that. I might be off by a word or two, but
Okay.
so their belief is not founded in the fact that there is more after this. It's what you do here that matters. Now, I think we could all maybe stand to do that a little bit more.
Don't look at me when you say that.
No judgment.
I don't judge people.
Full judgment.
I guess I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah. So there, and then there are people that believe in reincarnation.
Yeah.
So then the afterlife isn't a thing either. So, or it's just different than maybe the way we're discussing it now. I don't know. But,
Well, since you brought up reincarnation, let's talk about that. Was the last of the episodes of Surviving Death,
Yes.
and it was the one that had me floored the most
yeah.
because I really don't know anything about it. Because, like you said, I didn't grow up believing that I was going to be reincarnated after I died. But I watched this episode, and my chin I think my jaw was just on the ground. I was like, "What?" And my husband came in. He's like, "What are you?" I guess I must have been talking out loud back to the screen.
Totally normal.
It is. And he's like, "What are you watching?" And I told him, I'm like, how is this what I just watched about reincarnation, these stories? How is this not front page news? How did somebody not say, "Oh my gosh, this person," like, because it's with kids. And like you said, like, kids have no frame of reference when it comes to stuff like this.
Right.
And it was
fascinating. And a skeptic, would say these parents are making these stories up. But delve into the episode and give it a chance.
Yes.
Because I'd never seen anything like that. Or, I'd heard about things, but not the amount of information that these kids were
the
spewing.
specifics.
It was, what one was a former, like a kind of a B-list actor back
Yes.
in the
Yes.
In the 20s.
in
or
the 20s.
20s, 30s, something like that.
And this young child knew all these things about the movies that he was in, about people that he hung out with at parties.
Things about like in Paris, where this guy apparently liked to spend time. This 5-year-old
obscure.
had no knowledge of Paris,
obscure.
Who was he trying to impress in Oklahoma? I believe he was from
probably.
Oklahoma. Yes.
Yeah, and in this actor, and I don't remember the name. He wasn't like
It was like Marty Martin or something. Like, it was really
he
not.
wasn't super famous, but he was just in bit parts. And I just don't understand how the parents could have been making it up, how the child wasn't making it up, if that was what was coming from his mouth, and the amount of research that they went into in meeting past family members and verifying information. It was really...
That part was hard to watch for me because, and not to give away the entire show, but it seems like these kids are up to about age 5 are able to remember who they were before or who they are now.
Like
or
very
whatever.
specific
Very specific
Very
information, but then
specific.
it seems to go away once you start
Brain
to learn.
development, yeah.
And then when this boy was older, I think he was maybe a teenager, early 20s, they took him to meet the family members of this actor who had passed away. And that family had questions, and they so desperately wanted, and they weren't anything that they needed to know, but they wanted to know. They wanted to make that connection.
He
and
wasn't
he just
having
kept
it.
saying, I don't have anything for you.
He seemed
And
really sad.
that made me really sad.
Well, he seemed really sad.
Yeah.
And then I thought, what's the up? I didn't understand what the point of reincarnation was, I guess, after seeing that, only because it seemed to only upset the person that had kind of two different lives in them. Like this boy, when he was 15, he was a mess.
Yeah. It gave me a different interpretation of what reincarnation is. Like, okay, so they kind of were living in, this person was living inside of him. I don't know how to describe it. And then it goes away, and then you have no memory. But then you hear reincarnation, that faiths that believe this, or people that believe this, is that when you die, your soul goes into somebody else's soul, correct? I mean, that's kind of always been my interpretation of what reincarnation means.
And I always thought
you live another life.
I always thought it also meant that you kind of were coming back for some unfinished business of some sort, like something that, well, no,
I think that's possession, and I think that's
but maybe
that's a different episode.
But a little bit of it with the couple stories that they concentrated on may have been that I want people to know, like, was the other one something to do with somebody in the service that was involved in like a crash?
Yeah, a plane crash in World War II, I think, or World War I. I don't know.
But I thought
it was Iwo Jima.
Maybe he felt like
I don't know history.
He needed to tell that story again.
Bring attention
that
to
his
it
life
somehow.
was cut short. It says and he wanted to bring attention to it somehow.
So he drugged this other
boy
from Louisiana in on it. I don't know. It just all the info. Watch and make your own conclusion. I'm just saying it clearly something happened to these 3 examples of people that had this happen, and I can't explain it. And it was.
Did you have something personal from that you wanted to share?
I have. No,
I didn't know. I thought maybe that's where you were going.
No, I don't.
Okay, never mind.
I have a huge announcement to make. I'm not just Rachel. Let's transition over to talk about Signs from the Dead, because I think that was a good one, because that's something.
Was a good one. Yes.
Talk to me, Kim. What spoke to you on that one?
Well, a lot spoke to me on that one. I truly believe, and then this is just my belief system, and maybe it was the way that I was brought up as a Catholic, but I always like the idea of, cardinals appearing, that cardinals are a symbol of a loved one. We have 2 little cardinals in our backyard that always come around in the spring and summertime, and we have names for them. My grandma's name was Marcella, so we say little Sal's out there. And then we lost our daughter about 8 years ago, Isabel, and we always say little Isabel and little Sal are out there, singing. Watching it, singing. And, there's cardinals everywhere and whatever. But if it gives you some sense of peace, or it gives you some sense of,
acknowledging your loss, it feels great. Mm-hmm. So I liked that episode, specifically the cardinal. And I don't want to give a whole lot away. No, that was awesome.
And it was awesome. And there's a really, really cool piece that they do in this episode.
Well, I had seen that specific cardinal video on Facebook maybe a long time ago.
Right.
And when they brought it back for this docuseries, I was reminded of it because I had forgotten. And when you see this video, you can't explain it, because I just saw a cardinal out my window today. Could have been Isabel. I don't know. Chirping, like singing so much that I had to go see what was going on. And by no means did I think this bird was going to hop in my hands, let me hold it, pet it.
Yeah, you got to
sit on my shoulder. Yeah. You got to watch this video. Something's going on.
Yes.
Unless they drugged it.
I don't think that happened.
I don't think they did either.
You just made that up again.
I did.
And, well, like, both of my parents are deceased. My dad 20 years ago, and I won't get into it all, but we all started having visits from a praying mantis. Not the same one.
It was.
Various praying manti showed up. And it was enough for us to connect the dots and think, hey, maybe that's Dad. So, do we think it's Dad? No, we don't think he's reincarnated as a praying mantis. But it is a sign that he is with us. And we often get them at times when we need it. Whether or not it's real, we've put it out there into the universe. And I have friends that when they have a praying mantis land on their table, they send me a picture. Your dad's visiting me. It's so sweet. So then when my mom was dying, and she was, within a couple of days, and we're like, okay, what are you going to come visit us as? That's a lot of pressure to put on someone.
It is.
And we came up with a hummingbird based on the fact that she pretty much lived on Little Debbie's and gas station cappuccino. So, hummingbirds just drink a lot of sweet water and run away, or flowers, whatever. So that seemed like her. And so, do I put out hummingbird feeders to try to attract her? Of course I do. And I'm delighted when I get the signs. One of my siblings refuses to put out a feeder. so that when mom shows up, she knows she's showing up intentionally.
I get it.
So it's what you put out there and what you get back, I think. But anytime you can find a way to be reassured, I don't think that's bad.
Well, I remember back when you and I first started to be friends and you told me about this praying mantis visiting, and I remember telling you, I don't think I've ever seen a praying mantis before. I'm not even sure if I would know what a praying mantis looked like.
Right.
And then 2 days later, I was sitting on my porch, rocking in my chair, and on my screen was this huge praying mantis. And I thought, no, it can't. And I got, right up close. Your dad let me get right up close.
He did that.
And I was like, I'll be darned.
Yeah.
And so that was your dad. As far as I'm concerned, that was your dad.
Yeah. I pick them up like I'm an animal whisperer. I'm scared of bugs like you wouldn't believe. And I pick up these 5-inch insects like it's my dad. I'm like, look at it crawling on my
look
face.
at Dad.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
No, it's comfort.
it's comfort.
Well, the thing that they said in the series, in this particular Signs from the Dead that I liked, it was the quote, "It was real to me."
Right.
So I kind of liked that, people can say, well, that was a coincidence, or there are praying mantises all around your porch and you just happen to look up. It's been there before. You can explain away all you want, but when you see it and you get that feeling and it's real to you, it's real.
Good enough.
And that's all it should take.
Yep.
I'll close it with one story. I was telling Tracy and Kim when I was watching the series with Signs from the Dead, I was kind of jealous. I was watching it and they were talking about how you can really be in tune with those that have passed. So my brother passed 30 years ago. My dad passed 10 years ago. And I kind of got mad because I thought, why am I mad that I haven't seen or felt their presence when I don't work at it? These people were actively just trying to quiet themselves and just kind of put it out there. And I was kind of jealous. I'm like, well, look at them putting in the work. And then I was mad for no reason because I don't. And as I paused from watching the show and I was doing stuff around the house, I came back in the front room to start it again. And I heard this bang. I thought that a picture had fallen off the wall. Mm-hmm. It made a big noise.
Right.
And I turned and it was a teeny tiny 2x3 picture frame of my brother that is in front of the TV.
Mm-hmm.
Had fallen. Just his. There's a whole bunch of little frames. And it made way too much noise. And it just stopped me in my tracks. And I'm like, okay, I hear you. I feel you. I get it.
You. Yeah.
You're here. Thank God you're here. And I tell this story to my son. He's like, yeah, I've seen that frame fall before.
Oh, he sucked all the joy out of
I
it.
said, when did you see that frame fall? I've never seen it fall. He's like, oh yeah, it's fallen before, Mom. And I said, well, then he was here before, and he was here seeing
exactly.
you. So,
That's correct.
So just in case you wanted to feel good about yourself, just say something to your
to
kid.
your child, and
They'll take it right away from you.
they will.
So kind of like needing to exercise and lose weight, I need to diet and make an effort. That's the same with connecting with the dead, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Huh.
I never made the connection.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Get
Mr.
in
Obvious.
touch with your
News to me.
intuitive self.
Yes.
And I think we're pretty intuitive. So I ask all listeners out there around the world, what is your sign that you receive from different people that may have passed? What is your connection? Mine is music. Not usually just picture frames falling, but music in particular. Songs that I hear, definitely something that I feel is sent from different people that have
Same
passed.
here.
So I'd love to hear other people's real life connections.
Correct.
Hope we didn't get too serious
We were only talking about eternal life. I
with
think.
our eternal soul. Was it too serious?
No, it's good. It's fine.
We're good. You're all going to die. It's okay.
Everybody dies. Words of wisdom.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope to hear from you via email.
Email, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. On Facebook, we're just Up for Grabs. On Twitter, we're Up #4 Grabs Podcast.
Fun.
They made me do it. There's a character limit.
I understand.
We're on Instagram, up for grabs.
Oh my gosh, we're everywhere.
We're
Give us
everywhere.
a shout out.
We want to
Nothing
know
would make us feel better.
I want to feel famous. I don't know why. Okay, was that too much? Did I go too far?
It's the only reason we're doing this because we want to feel famous. So please, we're needy. Please let us know
It
that
takes
you.
very little to impress me. So 2 messages and I'm good.
Thank you for joining us. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon, and please come back to find out what's up for grabs next.